It was more to do with the freedom and being able to spend time with family and not travel as much. But with this, it allows me to trade wherever I want to go. It just gives me that flexibility, the autonomy of being my own boss.
What would you say, like, in your journey was the one mistake that you kept making that was kind of holding you back?
Overtrading will kill you because your decision fatigue kicks in massively late afternoon. If you're a London trader and you've taken 2 or 3 trades, your New York trades are going to be sloppy. The learning journey was very confusing at first.
Yeah.
There's that much information out there. You end up paying for courses. You can end up going down a rabbit hole and slowing yourself down by going through every course there is on YouTube because there's that much information. But when you're a little bit older, you have a little bit more patience perhaps, and you understand that, you know, things do take time and good things do come to those who put in the work and
Agree, yeah.
don't try to rush the process.
Today we're here with Ben, who is receiving his 6th payout with QT funded. Let's talk about how he's done this in only 2 years. So Ben, thank you for coming in today.
No problem.
Introduce yourself to the audience.
So I'm Ben. I've traded for 2 years and I've only sort of taken it seriously for the last 12 months. I've been trading with QT now since August last year, and it took me around sort of 6 weeks, I think, to get funded. And then I've kept that one account still from there and then just progressed really.
So what led you to QT then, and prop firms in general?
Prop firms was, I don't know actually. I don't know how to answer that.
I'll rephrase. So
Yeah.
what do you think the advantage is using a prop firm over like your own capital?
The advantages of a prop firm is that you can scale a lot quicker. You've got capital or access to capital that you wouldn't have. You know, it'd take you a long time to save up maybe $100,000 to trade with. But then with a prop firm, you can utilize that at a cost. There is obviously a cost element to it for yourself, but if you can pass that challenge, then you unlock a door as such.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's the good part of it.
And how did you come into trading?
I came into trading through an old friend of mine.
Yeah.
I used to do stocks when I was at university, so I was always interested in the market and the financial market and stuff. But a friend of mine actually introduced me to it, and then I bumped into a random guy on the beach once on holiday, and he just looked a really intriguing character. So I was asking about it, what he does for a living, and he said he traded proprietary firms at the time, which was 4 or 5 years ago, which piqued my interest again. And then from there, I didn't pay interest because I had something else, another job at the time. And then last year, it was just something that I really wanted to pursue and thought, right, it's either now or never. So I just knuckled down and put my head down and went into it.
So what were you doing before you came into this?
So before this, I was doing property development.
Wow, okay.
And I ended up leaving property development and did recruitment for a year, which is something that I'd previously done. I've done a number of different things. But from there, I was like, right, this is something that I want to do. I just had a little boy at the time. So it was like,
congratulations.
Thank you. It's now or never.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, I'll take the risk. And as we know, no risk, no reward, right?
For sure. So when you found out about trading, how did that make you feel, like, knowing that you've been in property development for so long?
What do you mean?
Like, what enticed you about trading that property development didn't give you?
I think with trading, you're in control to a certain degree, whereas with properties development, the market goes up and down, prices, you know, you've always got to have contingency plans in place, and you've got to rely on external investors, which I suppose you do with this, because if you lose your funding, then it's the same element. It was more to do with the freedom and being able to spend time with family and not travel as much. So I was developing property in Leeds at the time, and obviously where I'd moved to now is a 2-hour drive. But with this, it allows me to trade wherever I want to go. I traded on the train on the way down last night. So it just gives me that flexibility, the autonomy of being my own boss, but being accountable for my own income.
Definitely.
That's the reason I do it, for the freedom. It's not as much for the money, which is great, but it's for the freedom.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So let's talk about when you first started trading. What was the learning journey like?
The learning journey was very confusing at first.
Yeah.
There's that much information out there. You end up paying for courses and being led down a garden path, which is just a repackaged YouTube video. So you can end up going down a rabbit hole and slowing yourself down by going through every course there is on YouTube, because there's that much information. There's ICT, there's SMT, there's SMT, there's TTR, there's so many different people trying to trade. And generally speaking, it's all repackaged, but just a different wording. So I had to go through the struggle of going through it on my own until then I found a mentor. And then I paid for the mentorship, which sort of simplified things. And then from that, it just still didn't click. I was still using elements of different things and I was impatient. And I think the social media side of it is a get-rich-quick scheme, and it's completely not. It's the complete opposite. Whereas if you slow down, you end up speeding up.
Yeah.
So I ended up going with somebody else on a mentorship, and he mentored me, but he was more relatable because I sort of knew where he was from. He was in England. He was quite local to me. He was doing, very, very well. So I took that and molded it into my own strategy. And here we are now. It's like a matrix of strategies that I've got.
Yeah. I feel like social media sometimes make you feel like there's a rush to do things.
Massively. That's the biggest thing that you shouldn't do is try and rush this. It's about preservation of capital. Like everybody knows, if you blow it and you rush it, you're back to square one. I reckon I'd have been profitable, 6 months quicker if I'd have tried rushing it, definitely.
So talk me through your strategy then. So when you first open the charts, what do you look for?
My strategy is fairly basic. It's quite simple, and I think simplicity within the market is good for you to get a sense of your own direction. So it's literally highs and lows, failed structure, and it is pretty much just failed structure. So following the market, understand where price wants to go to or be drawn to. And it's not as much the algorithm that people talk about. I don't know, is there an algorithm? Is there not? But you do know that these big banks, they need to search for liquidity to get into the market to get buyers. So when price is obviously taking these buyers out and stops are being, activated, that's when I look for the reversal and the rejection. So it's just quite simple market structure, really.
And how long do these trades last? Do you hold them for?
I trade medium time frame, so 5, 15, 30 minute. Generally speaking, they can last anything from 15 minutes to 3 hours. Anything more than that, I do hold, but it's predominantly intraday because I like to close my laptop at the end of the day, know that I've either lost money or made money or go home. And
how does your risk management look like?
My risk management is quite strict with the fact that I'll only risk 1% per trade.
Okay.
However, with having multiple accounts, I will cycle my accounts. So if I take a loss on account 1, I will then move to account 2. If I take a win on that, I'll still move to account 3 and then move back. So I'm spreading my risk. I'm mitigating my risk across the accounts. But I don't do anything silly with regards to 2% risk. There's a lot of things now that are restricting us.
Yeah.
So it is 1% or 0.9% to allow for spreads and commissions.
Okay, I see. And what habits or routines have helped you succeed in trading?
Habits and routines that have helped me I'd say the habit and routine is making sure that I'm going to the gym every day. I think how you treat yourself outside of trading is how you end up treating trading. So if you're serious about things like, are you repetitive with the gym? Because you need to be repetitive in trading. You can't deviate from your strategy. So what's your plan? Are you going to the gym? Are you trying to keep in shape? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you focused? Are you sharp? So all these things you take onto the charts. If you have an argument with your partner or family member, that anger and frustration ends up playing out on the charts. So the thing for me is just being as calm as possible and try and bring my discipline outside of it into the charts, really.
I see. So normally the people who come into QT for these interviews, they're 18, 20-year-olds. And they all quite have a similar story, similar journey. Do you think you differ from them because you started later on in life?
old man.
Not in a rude way.
No. I mean, I don't know their stories. They're obviously, generally speaking, I'd presume that they're quite young, still at school, learning, don't want to do the 9 to 5.
No.
I mean, I've had multiple different jobs and stuff like that. I feel that my journey is slightly different because I'm older. I've got a little bit more understanding of the real world.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I understand that there has to be risk taken to get what you want. But also I understand that delayed gratification is probably the biggest and the best thing about it. Is if you look at myself from 12 months ago, I couldn't pass an account, whereas now I'm 600k funded.
Yeah.
So these younger ones are too feisty and want it too quick.
Yeah.
But when you're a little bit older, you have a little bit more patience, perhaps, and you understand that, you know, things do take time and good things do come to those who put in the work and
Agree, yeah.
don't try to rush the process.
Yeah. So what would you say then to these younger traders?
Don't expect to be profitable within 3 months. A lot of people come into the Discord and are like, yeah, I'm going to make money next week. I'm going to make sick money next week or whatever they say. And they're the ones that generally blow the accounts because they're trying to rush it. They're over leveraging, they're overtrading.
Yeah.
And they're trying to chase the Lambo lifestyle that's on Instagram, which isn't true. Don't get me wrong, you can get there, but it takes time.
Yeah.
And the people that have got there, you haven't seen them, you know, cry behind the charts or do whatever. So I'd say just take it easy. Don't rush it. Start small and then scale. Because when you scale, the snowball effect, you know, happens fast.
For sure. And is trading like your full-time thing right now?
Yes. Trading's full time for me now.
Do you think that adds pressure to you because trading can be so like fluctuating? Do you think that adds pressure for you because you also have a child?
Yeah, it does add pressure. But without pressure, what's the point in doing anything? You've got pressure at a job to hit your targets. If I was to do a sales job, there's pressure to hit KPIs.
Yeah.
My KPIs are, you know, a percentage per month. Whereas with trading, at least I can walk away. If I make my percentage in the first week, I'm done for the month.
Yeah.
I won't, and that's another thing for the young ones as well. Don't go chasing more money. Just get a target, hit it, and leave it for the month or the week, because all you'll do is give that back.
Yeah. Like greed.
Greed is the worst killer of accounts.
What makes you say that?
Because I've done it.
Go on, explain to us.
So I got a 200k live account.
Yeah.
I made 5%. Took about 17 minutes.
Wow.
Which is, you know, 3 times a lot of people's monthly salary.
Yeah.
And I actually cut the trade short by 1%. And I ended up chasing it because it dropped even further and further. I chased it to get that extra 1% and I lost a lot. So.
And then never made that mistake again.
No, cost the mistake.
Yeah. So within these like 1 to 2 years of like trading then, what's been your biggest win, would you say? Or your biggest accomplishment?
I'd say getting numerous payouts with QT.
Yeah.
Month on month. This month's been my best month. I think I've had 4 payouts. I think this has been my 5th.
I think 6.
Yeah, 6 or I think 6 this month, maybe. I had 2 last year, but the biggest achievement would be is compounding that into other accounts and scaling. So my goal was 500k by the middle of the year.
Yeah.
And I've got to 600 by the 2nd of March. I think I ticked it off.
Amazing. What do you think the goals for the rest of the year are then?
I'd like to get to 1 million funding.
Yeah.
And have consistent payouts from multiple firms and just cycling, really. Just keep that consistency and create a bank of money that, like you say, the pressure is relieved.
Yeah. What would you say, like, in your journey was the one mistake that you kept making that was kind of holding you back?
The biggest mistakes that I've made is being too hasty to trade, so overtrading.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Overtrading will kill you because your decision fatigue kicks in massively late afternoon. If you're a London trader and you've taken 2 or 3 trades, your New York trades are going to be sloppy, or they generally can be, because you've already had to make difficult decisions and your mind's always working.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a high level game of chess. You're always thinking 2 steps ahead. Where do I need to take this profit? Is this the right setup? What's the market environment? What news is on? You know, is there any fundamental events happening? So overtrading is the biggest killer as well.
Yeah, for sure. Is there a rule that you kind of stick to as well that like helps you succeed in trading?
2 losses a day.
2 losses max.
Max, done.
Max. Mm.
Yeah, 1%, 2 losses a day, max, done, because I know that 1 loss or even 3 losses can be covered by 1 trade.
And before we get you paid out, if you were to restart, what would you do differently?
I would find a simple strategy that you can digest easily and you can articulate it to somebody who doesn't trade, so you know that it's simple enough to follow, and stick with that for 3 to 6 months. And I would forward test it on a small account, maybe a 25k or a 50k account, and collect the data on it. Once you've got data, you've got everything. You've got a blueprint for your strategy, because you can see what your pitfalls are, if you overtraded, if you over-risked, if you've taken too many trades. And then you can also, stick that into cloud or ChatGPT, and it can find for you your common fault areas.
Yeah.
So that would speed the journey up.
Yeah.
Collecting data is key.
Now, forward testing and back testing are quite different, because like one's got emotions, one doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
How do you kind of manage your emotions when you're kind of testing out your strategy?
I wouldn't test it on my live account. I'd test it on maybe a cheap eval.
Yeah.
So there is an element of risk to it, but it's not paper trading.
Yeah.
Because if you paper trade, you'd be like, there's no care to it whatsoever. So I would test it on some small eval accounts. So if it does work, then I am collecting good data and also I'm progressing in some sort of way.
Yeah.
However, I wouldn't say there's much emotion to it, because if you stick into what you're trying, you shouldn't really care if you win or lose.
I get what you mean.
Because even if you've got a 2-hour win rate at 40%, at the end of the day, over a year period, you should be profitable.
Yeah.
So just being able to accept the loss.
Yeah. Kind of being robotic about it.
You've got to be systematic.
Yeah.
If you're not systematic, then it's not going to work.
And what do you think about journaling?
It's probably the biggest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a friend who got me into it, who got me into trading. He doesn't journal properly. And I asked him what trade he took last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember. I could jump on my data and tell him.
Yeah.
But that would tell me that day I over leveraged, I over risked, or I over traded, which caused me to lose 2% last week or whatever. Whereas he doesn't know where his pitfalls are. So journaling is the biggest thing of finding your own pitfalls.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So when you journal, what exactly do you put down?
So my journaling consists of confirmations, entry points, time frame, and then what I was thinking at the time, what I was expecting, and then when it's finished, I'll screenshot what actually happened.
Yeah.
And then if I was wrong, why was I wrong? Or was I just wrong because the market's made me wrong?
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for your insight. That was really great.
No problem.
I think it's time to get you paid out.
Good, let's do it.
Amazing. Okay, that's just been sent over to you now. Should come in about 5 minutes.
Perfect. That's just come in now, thank you.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
No problem.
It was amazing.
Thanks for having us. Thank you. Cheers. Sweet.